Welcome back to Morbidly Bewitched. In the last video, I talked you through briefly what happens in the embalming procedure. And in this video, I'm going to talk you through one of the best examples of when embalming goes correctly. Stay tuned. Many factors can change just how effective the embalming procedure can be, such as your age, what your cause of death was, what medications you were on, to name but a few. Even in today's modern society of science and development, this is still a topic that we struggle with today, as in the embalming theatre, some people in general just receive the fluid better than others because of these many factors. In certain circumstances, this can be extended beyond belief. This was the phenomenon that occurred with one young lady who passed away in Sicily, Italy, called Rosalia Lombardo. Now, before I get into talking about little Rosalia, there is another main character in this story, so I'm going to talk about him first. Alfredo Salafia, a Sicilian chemist, embalmer and taxidermist. Salafia was born in Palermo, Italy on the 7th of November 1869, and he passed away on the 31st of January 1933. Salafia's passion in life was the preservation of the dead. So much so that he developed his own fluid because he didn't believe that the use of the heavy metals and the toxic chemicals in the embalming industry at the time, if that's what you want to call it, were necessary, and that more advanced and safer methods could be used and better results achieved. He began by putting together a solution himself and practicing on deceased animals. His results became so renowned as being so good that then he was commissioned to embalm heads of state, religious figures, and started traveling the world. He traveled to America in 1910 to put on displays and performances with other doctors and surgeons and embalmers to show them just how good his new fluid and practice could be. He rose to fame and notoriety because of his achievements. And when he returned home for good to Palermo, he even embalmed his own family members. So let's now talk about Sleeping Beauty, who she is normally referred to as, little Rosalia Lombardo. Rosalia was born into a upper middle class family in Palermo, Italy on the 13th of December 1918. She then passed away on the 6th of December 1920, just shy of her second year birthday, from pneumonia, which was a result of the Spanish flu. Rosalia's family were so distraught, in particular her father, Mario Lombardo, and consumed by grief, that he would do anything at all costs to keep his baby girl looking as gorgeous as the day she passed. So he got in touch with and employed Alfredo Salafia to embalm his daughter. He described what he wanted as a desired result was for her to last forever. And Alfredo accepted the challenge. Rosalia would become one of Salafia's final and most impressive works of art to this day. He reassured her father that he would do everything he could possibly in his power of knowledge to keep Rosalia looking just as cute and gorgeous as the day she slipped away. Salafia set to work straight away with no time to lose for the allowance of deterioration to set in, using his secret ingredients. By the way, which were thought to have died along with Salafia himself, because this remained a mystery for years and was only very recently discovered, because the scientists that looked into little Rosalia at the time and did all of the investigations tried to contact Salafia's descendants and got in touch with a great niece who actually had his formula wrote down on paper, and surprisingly enough, it was quite straightforward, but extremely advanced for that era. The formula being a mixture of formalin, zinc sulfur, alcohol, and glycerin. What it did not contain was things like mercury and arsenic, which were the preferred ingredients to embalm a body in that time. Rosalia was embalmed by Salafia extremely successfully, and as an extremely young girl and having lovely plumps of tissue, the acceptance of the fluid was fantastic. Everything was saturated extremely well with the solution. Rosalia was placed inside a lead-lined coffin, which was the perfect size for her as well. And instead of the regular coffin lid, Salafia designed 2 sheets of glass to go above her, and silicone, well, it wasn't silicone, it was waxed into position with heavy resins to avoid air and contamination getting to Rosalia, because Salafia was extremely aware of the fact that one of the biggest enemies of an embalmer is the general environment. Rosalia was then placed inside Capuchin Friary catacombs, where she remains to this day. With the coffin lid being glass, this afforded the family the right to be able to continuously go and see her and wake her for the rest of their days. And unbelievably, she did not change in appearance. Rosalia to this day remains in pristine condition, from her gorgeous blonde locks to her bow in her hair and her long eyelashes and this restful repose of sleep. So much so that rumours started to go around that maybe Rosalia is not actually real, and her little body was replaced some time ago with possibly a doll, which caused researchers quite recently, only a few years back, to go into the catacombs and try to figure out just what the secret was. So they started off with an x-ray just to prove that she was actually a real human being. Not a living one, but real. Due to the lead lining of the coffin, however, the x-rays proved quite difficult, but scientists will be scientists and they would not be beat. They just amped up the volume to penetrate that coffin. What they did find was even more shocking than they could have predicted, because all of Rosalia's organs were still intact, even her brain. So not only did they prove that she was a real human being, but the preservation was extensive. They also noted of interest that Salafia, when he placed little Rosalia inside her coffin, placed her in at an angle. So her head was slightly raised and the upper torso was slightly raised, which put her at a view, not only a nice viewable angle, but would also lend to the overall effectivity of the fluid, because nothing would flush back into the head. So what is the mystery? How is she still intact? You can go and see Rosalia now. Get yourself onto a little plane, head over there to the catacombs, Capuchin catacombs right now. Go. Because it is really quite extraordinary. I personally want to go and see little Rosalia myself. But what is the answer? Why is she still intact? Well, I don't want to burst anybody's crazy bubble, but as scientists will describe to you, it is a phenomena that has taken place because Every single facet of the environment has been absolutely perfect. A marriage of perfection, I suppose, would be the best way to describe it. The source of the fluids. There was glycerin used to keep Rosalia's tissue and soft sinew and skin supple. There was no heavy chemicals like arsenic used that would have eventually probably broke down the softer tissue. The lead lining of the coffin and the double paned glass lid that was waxed right around, and probably waxed so well that prevented bacteria, air, moisture, all of those outside, those external environmental elements did not reach Rosalia, which means she was kept in perfect condition. Not only was all of those factors completely spot on, but she was also resting in the catacombs, and the catacombs in Sicily are underground. These underground vaults are extremely cool in temperature, and there's no natural sunlight. So realistically, it's not so much this miraculous phenomena, but more just that every single element was just right. But that is not really, not wanting to take away from Salafia's work, that's not really the ability of the professional, the embalmer, more so the fact that all natural elements and chemical elements met together at the perfect moment of contact. And to recreate that is, I don't even want to hazard a guess at the probability of that. I'm not a mathematician, but it's, a fantastic phenomena, but not one that cannot be explained. Little Rosalia, in fact, has many neighbours in the catacombs, and the Capuchin catacombs are so interesting. It is genuinely a place I wish to visit, because all of her neighbours are propped up. They aren't even in vessels, they're not in coffins, because in Sicily the humidity is very, very low. So we've got an extremely dry environment, and the catacombs are extremely cool with no natural light coming into the area, and all of these deceased are propped up straight so that they are kind of standing to attention when you walk in. You get to physically just look at them standing there, and their level of preservation is extremely impressive, and they have been open to the elements, but yet they still are standing the test of time because the environment is extremely suited for the preservation of soft tissue. Nevertheless, that still does not take away the fact that little Rosalia Lombardo is still one of the most beautiful, astonishing, and amazing examples of embalming that can still be viewed today. And she is, without a doubt, Sleeping Beauty. She is gorgeous, she's cute, she looks like she passed maybe a week ago. The respect and interest that's been shown to her over the years, especially by the monks themselves of the friary and researchers and scientists, is something to be admired, really, because they quite literally treat her as this irreplaceable, priceless artifact. So much love is held for this little lady that they felt the need to cement her existence for even longer than possible, past their own time frame. So they have now built her own little advanced sarcophagus, which is more perspex, but it's a temperature controlled environment. So she's inside her own little bubble of protection now. Her coffin has been placed inside what can only be described as a large, high-tech, half-cylindrical sarcophagus, which is perspex as well, so that everybody can still view Rosalia, but it means that they can monitor her external and internal environment within and without her casket. Head to Italy, have a look at her. I know I will be. I'll be heading over to see her at some stage in my life. It's kind of a bucket list thing to do for me. So what would be another example of a phenomenon that is revered or almost feared by people when they see it? Well, in my next video, I will be giving you another example of when the deceased may shock you in their ability to stay preserved. This example will be also if the environment is just right and no human intervention has really taken place to cause this preservation. So I'm going to keep you guessing. Because sure, you could just search it between now and my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.